You know, people always ask me what case still keeps me awake at night. After 40 years on the bench, there are plenty that tested my patience, my morals, even my faith. But there's one that never left me. The disappearance of Senator McAllister's daughter. Emily. I was 62 when it came across my desk. A federal nightmare wrapped in the perfect storm of politics, grief, and fear. I remember that night like it was yesterday. It was snowing in D.C., one of those thick, quiet nights when the city feels empty. My phone rang around 2 a.m. I thought it was a wrong number. Nobody calls a federal judge at that hour unless something's gone terribly wrong. The voice on the other end was trembling. Justice Hayes, sir. The senator's daughter is missing. Missing? I asked, half awake. Kidnapped. We're not sure yet, the agent said. She never made it home from a campaign fundraiser in Arlington. It's how it began. No warning, no ransom note, no motive. Just silence. Emily was 23. Law student. Bright, funny, and fiercely independent. I'd met her once at a charity dinner. Her father, Senator Thomas McAllister, was one of those old-school politicians people either loved or couldn't stand. But that night, he was just a father with tears in his eyes, begging the system to find his child. I still see his face when he walked into my chambers the next morning. Eyes red, voice shaking. Please, Bill, he said. He was one of the few allowed to call me that. Don't let this turn into another cold case. The FBI was already on it, but you could feel the tension between the Bureau and local police. Everyone wanted control, and politics was oozing into every corner of the investigation. I had to step in early not to take sides. But to make sure justice didn't get buried under headlines, they found her car 3 days later, abandoned near the Potomac River, driver's door open. Keys still inside. Purse on the seat. No signs of struggle. It looked almost staged, like someone wanted us to find it. That's when my gut told me this wasn't a random kidnapping. For days, the news wouldn't shut up. Senator's daughter vanishes without a trace. I couldn't walk into a cafe without hearing her name. People made theories, gossip spread like wildfire. Some said she ran away. Others whispered about an affair. None of it sat right with me. A week later, we got our first real lead. A security camera caught Emily leaving the fundraiser with a man in a dark coat, his face half hidden. He opened the car door for her, and they drove off. She looked calm, even smiling. The footage timestamp showed 9:47 p.m. after that. Nothing. The FBI ran facial recognition. Nothing. No hits. Whoever he was, he'd erased himself well. One night, around 11 p.m., I was still in my office, staring at those damn photographs. My clerk, Dana, knocked softly. Sir, you should go home. I laughed dryly. Home? My wife left me years ago because I never knew how to leave work. She smiled sadly, then placed a cup of coffee on my desk. You'll find her, she said. You always do. I wanted to believe that. But deep down, I knew this case was different. The next morning, an anonymous email landed in the FBI inbox. Check the old observatory. She's still watching the stars. That line chilled me. Still watching the stars. Emily loved astronomy. She used to volunteer at a children's planetarium on weekends. The observatory mentioned in the email was 10 miles outside Arlington. It's closed for years after a fire. Agents rushed there. Nothing. Just dust, old furniture, and a broken telescope. But they found a bracelet gold, engraved with her initials. E.M. Senator McAllister nearly collapsed when he saw it. That's hers, he whispered. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept picturing that bracelet, how it looked freshly polished, untouched by time. It didn't make sense. If she'd been missing for over a week, why was the metal still clean? Someone had planted it. Someone wanted us to think she'd been there. 2 days later, the Bureau traced the anonymous email to a public library in Maryland. Security footage showed a teenage boy using the computer at that exact time. When questioned, he swore someone had paid him $20 to send the email. The description he gave, tall man, mid-40s, dark coat. The same man from the fundraiser video. That was our first real thread. But here's where it got strange. When the sketch was released to the press, 2 different witnesses came forward, both claiming they knew that man. One said he was a private investigator. The other said he'd seen him working for the senator's campaign now. When politics enters a missing person case, you can kiss logic goodbye. Everybody's got an angle. Reporters were hounding me outside the courthouse. Justice Hayes is the senator under investigation. Do you believe there's a political cover-up? I couldn't answer. Legally, I wasn't supposed to. But inside, I was starting to wonder the same thing then. Out of nowhere, I received a package. No return address, just my name, handwritten on it. Inside was a flash drive. No note. No explanation. It contained one video. A single, shaky recording from what looked like a basement. A woman's voice whispering, "If you're watching this, please tell my father I'm alive." It was Emily. Pale, scared, eyes darting toward the camera like she was being watched. And then darkness. That's the moment my stomach dropped. I called the bureau immediately. We analyzed every frame. The walls were cement, no windows. One flickering bulb overhead. A faint hum in the background, maybe a generator or industrial machine. The tech team isolated the sound and traced it to a specific frequency used in older factory equipment. It wasn't much, but it gave us something. She was likely being held somewhere near an old manufacturing site. There were over 40 abandoned factories within 50 miles that night. I sat alone in my office, the city lights flickering through the window. I remember saying softly to myself, "Emily, hang in there. We're coming." I didn't know then that finding her would tear open secrets no one in Washington wanted revealed, and it was only the beginning. Asterisk, you know. Looking back now, that second week felt like walking through fog. Every clue led to another wall. Every wall had someone important's name written on it. The deeper we dug, the more the system itself seemed to push back. I remember sitting in the bureau's war room one morning, maps, photos, timelines spread all over the walls. Everyone looked tired, hollow-eyed. Agent Lewis, head of the task force, turned to me and said, "Sir, it's like she disappeared off the face of the earth." "No one disappears," I said quietly. "Not without help." He frowned. "You think someone inside made it happen?" I didn't answer. But I'd been in Washington long enough to know power protects its own. That night, Senator McAllister called me. His voice cracked halfway through the first sentence. "Bill, they're saying my staff might be involved." "That's insane," I sighed. "Tom, let's stay calm. The Bureau has to check every lead. Every lead." He snapped. "You're talking about people who've worked for me for 20 years. I stayed silent for a moment, then said, "If that's true, they'll have nothing to hide." He didn't reply, just hung up. The next morning, one of his campaign aides, a man named Richard Cole, didn't show up for questioning. He'd resigned the night before. His phone was off. His apartment empty. That's when my gut twisted. By noon, the FBI had him on a highway camera heading south. Then, nothing, gone. I still remember Dana, my clerk, looking at me like she'd seen a ghost. "Sir, what if he took her?" I shook my head. If he did, we'd have heard something by now. This isn't about ransom. It's about silence. That afternoon, a forensic tech called in a breakthrough. The background hum in Emily's video wasn't a generator after all. It was a ventilation fan used in old cold storage facilities. That narrowed the search down to 6 possible sites, 6 out of the entire state. You could feel the room shift when that map came up. Everyone moved faster, talking over one another. For the first time, we had a real shot. But before any search could begin, I got a sealed note delivered to my chambers. No signature, no sender. Just 6 words typed neatly on a white card. "She doesn't belong in this mess." It hit me like a punch. Who the hell knew where she was, and why warn me? That night, I went home for the first time in days. My house felt foreign, cold, quiet to clean. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, sat by the window, and stared at the streetlights. My reflection looked old, heavier. 62 felt like 82. You ever have that moment where you question why you chose this life? I did. Right then. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number, Justice Hayes. A voice whispered. Yes, she's alive. But you're looking in the wrong place. Who is this? Click. I just sat there, heart pounding. Couldn't even move. That's when I noticed the call lasted exactly 13 seconds. When the FBI traced it, it came from a prepaid burner phone used near one of the 6 old cold storage sites. You can imagine what happened next. By dawn, teams were surrounding the warehouse. I stayed at headquarters, watching everything unfold through live feeds. Agents breached the doors, flashlights cutting through the dark, dust everywhere. Crates stacked like tombs. Then a shout. I got something. They found a mattress. Shackles bolted to the floor. A blanket with initials EM. For a split second, everyone thought we'd found her. But no, the room was empty. Still warm, though, like someone had been there hours ago. I slammed my fist on the table. Someone's playing us. They were, because later that same day, we received another package. This one addressed not to me, but to the press. Inside was another video. Emily again, weaker this time, her voice trembling. They're moving me. I don't know where. Please don't stop looking. You could hear a man's voice in the background, calm, firm. Say goodbye, Emily. Then the screen went black. The video hit every major network within hours. America exploded. People protested outside the courthouse, holding signs that said, "Bring her home." Reporters camped on my front lawn. Helicopters hovered over the senator's estate. That night, McAllister came to see me again, unannounced. He looked wrecked, eyes bloodshot, hands shaking. "They're saying this is political," he muttered, "that she was taken to silence me before the election. Is there any truth to that?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, barely above a whisper, "There are people in this city who would do anything to stay in power. Anything." "Tom," I said, leaning forward, "if you're hiding something, now is the time to tell me." Just shook his head and left. Didn't say a word after that. The next morning, the FBI raided another one of the cold storage sites, this one 30 miles west. They found fresh footprints leading to the back exit. They also found a phone. Inside it, a single contact saved as J. The phone belonged to Richard Cole, the missing aide, and suddenly everything clicked. Cole wasn't just an aide. He'd been managing off-the-record campaign finances, dark money, political favors, the kind of stuff that never sees daylight. My guess, he found out something he wasn't supposed to. And Emily, being curious and smart, must have discovered it too. Maybe she confronted him. Maybe she threatened to tell her father. Whatever happened, that's what got her taken. That theory turned the investigation upside down. Now, we weren't just searching for a missing girl. We were untangling a cover-up that night. I stayed up reviewing everything again. The footage, the map, the email, every damn report. I circled one thing. The first video's timestamp didn't match the file metadata. It had been recorded 2 days earlier than we thought, which meant when we saw that video, she was already gone from that basement. We'd been chasing a ghost. The realization hit me like a wave. I called Agent Lewis at 2 a.m., checked the timestamps again. The video was planted. "How do you know?" he asked. "Because whoever took her wanted us to look there while they moved her somewhere else." He paused. "Then where the hell is she now?" I looked at the map one last time. "If I had to bet," I said, "closer than we think." And that's when the breakthrough came. A security guard from a nearby abandoned train depot called in, reporting noises at night. Laughter, a woman's voice. When they sent a patrol, they found tire tracks fresh. It was the first sign of hope we'd had in weeks. Asterisk. Agents tracked the tire marks from the abandoned train depot to a disused tunnel that connects to an old power plant. Inside, they find evidence that Emily was kept there. After a tense standoff, Richard Cole is captured. He confesses that he abducted Emily when she discovered proof of illegal campaign funding. He planned to keep her hidden until after the election. Emily is rescued, shaken but alive. Justice Hayes watches her reunion with her father and feels both relief and guilt that it took so long. In his closing reflection, he admits that the case taught him how fragile power and justice can be and how a single choice can destroy lives. The story ends with him saying he still sometimes wakes at night hearing her whisper, "Please don't stop looking," and he hopes he never will.